This terminology
will now be recorded.
This terminology might be changing. So ఎందుకు terminology చేంజ్ అవుతున్నా అంటున్నానంటే సో కొన్ని పర్టికులర్ క్లౌడ్ లో స్నాప్షాట్స్ అంటే సర్వర్ బ్యాకప్ అంటారు. And few of them they consider it as a backup for the volumes, right? So ikkada mana particular case lo idi complete ga disk ki close ga work avutadi ante majorly whatever the volumes that you have created, right? So ikkada nenu edaithe volumes create చేసుకున్నానో specific ga aa volumes ni nenu select చేసుకుంటాను. So that is how I will be working closely with the particular EBS volumes only. Snapshots anedi specific ga EBS volumes, very important. Remember, you cannot call it as a general backup, right? So మీకు ఇంకా వేరే కైండ్ ఆఫ్ స్టోరేజ్ కి వెళ్ళే కొద్దీ ఈ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ బ్యాకప్ అనేది చేంజ్ అవుతూ ఉంటుంది, right? So this particular thing will keep on changing from depending upon the type of storage service. For the EBS it is snapshots, right? So that is what we have to remember. So EBS ki specific ga backups ela handle chestamu ante so with the help of snapshots in the environment. So snapshots is considered as a point of backup or the existing backup for your environment, right? And here so we can also automate this part. Automation in the sense you can take a frequent backups like once in a week or once in 2 weeks, like how you want to take it. So you can handle it by automating that part. You don't need to basically sit in front of the system to go ahead and take the backup, right? So this part is handled by the lifecycle manager. So lifecycle manager, whatever you are seeing here, right? So this would be responsible for automating the snapshots, right? So automating the backups for your EBS file. So let's quickly take a look on it, and I'll show you how we can create. So here you can see the same, and here we can basically go ahead and take the help of snapshots in order to take the backup for the environment. And here one more important thing which you have to remember is snapshots are always considered as an incremental backups. So what does that mean? For example, so yesterday I have taken a backup of my particular EBS volume, so which was some 500 GB data, right? So total the disk that I have been using is some 750 GB or 1 TB. దాంట్లో నాకు ఒక 500 GB occupied ఉంది, right? So simple example, I'm just taking how the snapshots will be taken. So on 28th of July, so whenever I have taken, so for the first time it will try to take the backup for the whole 500 GB, right? So again today I'm trying to take the backup, right? So there is only some minor modification in the data, so 1 or 2 files got updated. So what the system will try to do is it will try to check for whatever the blocks or whatever the changes that have happened on that particular volume, rather than taking as a full dump, right? Again, it will not waste the time in order to go ahead and take the full 500 GB backup. It will try to go ahead and check for whatever the changes that has been happened from the recent snapshot, right? So మీరు ఇంతకు ముందు previous గా snapshot తీసుకొని ఉంటారు కదా, so that particular snapshot whatever you are having, so how it is different from the latest backup. So that is what the system would be taking it as a consideration, right? So this is one important thing, and we can say this is the advantage also. Enduku ante, so suppose if you are trying to go ahead and take the full data backup every single time, so there will be a lot of waste in the time, right? ఎందుకంటే so just consider the data. If the data size is 1 TB, so whenever you want to take the backup, the whole 1 TB data has to be backed up, so which will really take a very long time, and this will be a headache every single time to handle the backups. సో అందుకని ఏంటి అంటే ఈ పర్టికులర్ ఫీచర్ అనేది ఒక యాడ్ ఆన్ లాగా చెప్పొచ్చు. సో విచ్ ఆల్వేస్ ఈస్ కన్సిడర్డ్ యాజ్ అన్ ఇంక్రిమెంటల్ బ్యాకప్. వెరీ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్, ప్లీజ్ రిమెంబర్ దట్. సో యూజువలీ దే విల్ ఆస్క్ హౌ దే వుడ్ బి imposing questions is that, so suppose I have taken some 50 GB or some 100 GB, whatever the backup that I have in the environment, again I'm trying to take a backup on the next day, how the snapshots would be working, right? So snapshots are considered as an incremental backups. So what they will try to do is they will basically try to check for the changes, right? So changes in the sense, what is the change in the data from yesterday to today, right? So it will just try to go ahead and take that particular look on that particular section, and then it will take only the recent backup or recent changes that has been done on the different blocks that are there in the environment. So that's very important when you are working with the EBS, right? So EBS the Indian, it's a block level storage, and which is completely confined to the EC2 instances, specifically the Linux EC2 instances. So here we can see the same. Yeah. These are the two events. So let me try to show it from here only so that it will be. So create a snapshot, just click on it. Yeah. So here you can see these are the two things, whatever you are seeing here, right? So the multi-volume snapshot, which is there in the environment, and as well as the snapshots for the individual volume. So multi-volume snapshot is nothing but the EC2 instance snapshot, right? So me EC2 instance ki any volumes aithe attach chesi unnayo anni, right? So whatever the services that are servers that are there in your environment, so this will show here, and so it will ask you to provide the description. And దీంట్లో ఏమేం వాల్యూమ్స్ అటాచ్ అయ్యే కనిపిస్తాయి. So as I have deleted all the older volumes in the environment, right? So I'm not able to see all these existing old volumes in the section. If there are any old volumes, so I should be able to go ahead and see all those sections from here, right? So multi-volume snapshot is nothing but you can take the backup of the different volumes of a particular EC2 instance at a single go. Right? So for example, if yesterday if you have observed, we have created multiple volumes, right? So allow all volumes whatever there in the environment, so you want to take a snapshot at a single attempt, right? So then you can take off instance, so which is considered as a multi-volume snapshot అంటాం. ఎందుకంటే సో ఇన్స్టెన్స్ లో కనెక్ట్ అయిన మల్టిపుల్ వాల్యూమ్స్ కి మనం ఒకటేసారి బ్యాకప్ ని ట్రిగర్ చేస్తాం, right? And here you can see another thing is volume. So for example, as I said earlier, usually you will not store any kind of critical related data to your application on your root volume. So root volume, we generally leave it aside with the default configuration files like system configuration file, library files, whatever the commands that we do have, right? So all this default information we will store in the root volume, and we will not generally try to go ahead and keep our application data into this particular root folder. So appudu నాకు root backup అవసరం లేదు. సో నాకు ఓన్లీ సపరేట్ గా ఇంకొక 500 GB డిస్క్ ఉంది. సో నాకు ఓన్లీ దానికి మాత్రమే బ్యాకప్ కావాలి. సో అప్పుడు మనం ఇది ఇన్స్టెన్స్ తీసుకోవాల్సిన నెసెసిటీ లేదు. మీకు ఏదైతే వాల్యూమ్ ఉందో సో ఓన్లీ ఆ పర్టికులర్ వాల్యూమ్స్ అన్ని ఇక్కడ డ్రాప్ డౌన్ లో కనిపిస్తాయి. So here you can give a proper naming convention and then attach that particular volume, right? So simply how we created earlier, right? Here just try to go ahead and open this EC2 instance tab. Go to the volumes, right? So here you can see whatever your new volume is there, right? So you can add a new naming convention saying why we are using this particular volume and to which EC2 instance this is connected. So I just want to keep it as a sample. It is just na understanding kosam ante tags anedi. So just click on it, and then whenever you are taking the backup, so you want to take only for this 50 GB. So I'm just taking an example, not like exactly I'm trying to go ahead and take up. So what I'm trying to understand is, so just one single backup of the volume also we can take. It is not mandatory to take a some complete server backup, ఎందుకంటే usually root volume లో మనకు కావాల్సిన critical data ఏది లేదు. So there is no point in taking the backup or maintaining the snapshots for those root volumes. So you can avoid it. That is not a big problem. So you can avoid this and take the backup for only the EBS volumes where you have your data, right? So మీ డేటా ఎక్కడైతే అవైలబుల్ ఉంటుందో ఓన్లీ ఆ పర్టికులర్ వాటికి మాత్రమే నేను స్నాప్షాట్ తీసుకుంటాను. అందుకని మీరు దానికి ప్రాపర్ ట్యాగ్స్ యాడ్ చేశారనుకోండి, మీకు పర్టికులర్ డివైస్ ని ఐడెంటిఫై చేయడం ఈజీగా ఉంటుంది. అంటే ఏ వాల్యూమ్ అనేది ఐడెంటిఫై చేయడానికి ఈజీగా ఉంటుంది. సో యూ క్యాన్ బేసికలీ గో హెడ్ అండ్ take the help of this particular option in order to go ahead and handle the backups. So here whatever you are seeing the multi-volume snapshots, right? So this is what it is, right? So here we can see the same. right? In order to go ahead and automatically come up. And here the advantage with the snapshots is you can basically go ahead and copy the snapshots from one region to another region, and then you can recreate the volumes again. So hope that is the major advantage which we are looking up for. So backup తీసుకుంటున్నాము అంటే సో దాని మేజర్ మనం ఎందుకు యూజ్ చేస్తాము, ఇన్ కేస్ మన ఎగ్జిస్టింగ్ వాల్యూమ్ ఏదైనా రీజన్స్ వల్ల క్రాష్ అయినా, ఏదైనా రీజన్స్ వల్ల మనం దాన్ని యూజ్ చేయలేకపోయినా, సో ఇన్ దట్ పర్టికులర్ కేస్, సో దిస్ పర్టికులర్ స్నాప్షాట్స్ ఆర్ ద బ్యాకప్స్ విల్ హెల్ప్ us to restore and recreate the volume again, right? సో ఈ స్నాప్షాట్ మనం ఏదైతే బ్యాకప్ తీసుకుంటాం కదా, ఆ స్నాప్షాట్ త్రూ మళ్ళీ వాల్యూమ్ ని రీక్రియేట్ చేయొచ్చు. అంటే రీసెంట్ బ్యాకప్ యూజ్ చేసుకొని మళ్ళీ రివర్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం ఇండైరెక్ట్ గా చెప్పాలి అంటే. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద బెస్ట్ యూస్ కేస్ విచ్ యూ క్యాన్ గెట్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ or why we are taking the snapshots. So snapshots enduku తీసుకుంటారు, why the snapshots are needed in the sense, so snapshots will be helpful for us to go ahead and handle the backup of our EBS volumes that are attached. So let's try to go ahead and create a quick snapshot, and we'll try to show you what are the options that are included here, right? So let me click on the same. I want to take the snapshot for this, and here you can add the description as some sample EC2 instance, whatever you want to. You can give your server information here, right? And then create snapshot, right? So just close it, and here we can see this particular snapshot. So I want to give it a naming. I want to give it naming something like July backup or something, whatever you want to. So just like even if anyone else comes up also, they should be able to understand so when this particular backup has been taken. So always you can see the information here when this particular snapshot they are trying to take the backup. Ikkada available status కనిపిస్తుంది. So this particular fastness depends on two important things. One is how much is the network speed that you are getting, and the second important thing is size of the data, right? So and I just consider the time. So if you're having 50 GB data, the time taken will be different. So if you're having 100 GB data, the time taken is different, right? So depending on the size of the data and also how the network speed work for your account, right? So these two are the major constraints, so that will be coming into picture. So whenever you are trying to go ahead and handle with the environment, right? So the time will be varying, so you cannot tell okay I can take snapshot in 20 minutes or you can take the snapshot in 30 minutes, 1 hour, right? So you cannot guarantee that. It depends on the type of data and the size of the data you are storing in that particular volume, right? So always it is dependent on those factors. So here we are not having any kind of data stored on these particular volumes, right? So that is the reason it has quickly taken the backup, and you can see the progress is also 100% available, right? So and we can see the options from here. Just go to the actions and see multiple options which we can see from this particular area. One of them is copy, so which I said, right? You can also copy the snapshots from one region to another region. Here you have to basically go ahead and select the destination region to which you want to copy the snapshots, right? So మీ snapshots ని ఏదైతే మీరు end region లోకి కాపీ చేయాలి అనుకుంటున్నారో, so you can basically go ahead and give that particular region here, and then you can copy. So ఎందుకు copy చేయాలి? So what is the need for copy, right? So if you want to create a similar volume in any other region just for maintaining the backup. So ఎందుకంటే so availability zone is one concept which we are using. Apart from that ఏంటి అంటే, so backups ఎప్పుడైనా different regions లో maintain చేస్తే, even though your region get affected, your application data will be still available. So if you want to maintain alternative backup, you can basically go ahead and copy in another region rather than maintaining bulk number of snapshots in the same region, right? So it is better you copy the data into the different region and use that as a restoration point, right? So that can be the advantage in the worst scenarios where the region is getting crashed or something, right? అలాంటి issues అప్పుడు ఏంటి అంటే ఇది మనకి ఎఫెక్టివ్ గా పనికొస్తుంది. సో అప్పుడు మనం మళ్ళీ ఏం చేయొచ్చు, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ I have copied to some Paris region. So due to some reason, so నాకు ఇక్కడ ఉన్న existing snapshot ఏదో correct అయింది. So what I can do, I can go to this region. So I can switch to Paris region. I can take the snapshot, again copy back to my this existing region, and then recreate the volume from here, right? So in that way you can get a benefit. So whenever you are trying to go ahead and work with this particular snapshots, it is just how you want to handle the backup. That's all. That's completely according to your requirement. And yes, you do have different option like manage fast restore. రైట్. సో అదేంటి అంటే ఎఫిషియెంట్ గా మీకు నెట్వర్క్ స్పీడ్ అనేది అండ్ ఫాస్ట్నెస్ అనేది హై ఉంటుంది. So just go through that option, don't enable it, so that will be of charges, that is not free of cost, but that particular option will also be helpful in order to quickly restore or quickly recreate the volume. So whenever you are trying to take the backup as a reference, right? So you can copy. Just make sure that you have deleted after this. So just the page open cheyandi, akkada status or progress manaki ikkada kanipistadi, close. And again you can see the similar option like modify permissions, right? So if you want to go ahead and share with any other person, right? So you can give their account number, add permission, and then save, right? So you can also basically share this snapshot to different accounts also, right? So why we use a different accounts? So as I said earlier, sometimes so usually what we will try to do implement in a real time is you will create a separate accounts like the production account on which all of your production setup is ready, and other environment as development account, right? Just a testing purpose uses. In case meeku one to one regions ఏదన్నా backup copy చేయాలి అనుకుంటే, so you can take help of this particular modify permissions, right? So if you want to, so but yes, there is a flexibility similarly like how we have for the machine images, right? So here also we have the flexibility of using both the options. So one is copying the snapshot from one region to another region, and as well as copying the snapshot from one particular account to different account, right? So both the features are also available with the snapshot, right? So for example, if a different person want to use the same snapshot and recreate the volume, yes, definitely he can go ahead and do that, right? But whoever is the owner, right? So మీరు ఏ particular user through అయితే snapshot create చేశారో, so that particular person will be the point of contact or the owner. So that is one important thing, so which you have to remember. So he is the owner for that particular snapshot that we are creating, so he can decide to whom he have to share the snapshot, right? So without his permission or without his account info, you cannot basically go ahead and work with the snapshots in any environment. So not only this service, any other service that you are handling, so ఎప్పుడైతే ఓనర్ through నే అది మనం route చేయగలుగుతాం. We will not be able to go ahead and do through other accounts that we have in the environment. And another major option is creating the volume. So first is delete, normal delete, and here you can see create the volume. So what I said, the main purpose of why we are taking the backup or snapshot is if anything goes wrong with our existing volume, or if anything gets corrupted, or if anything data is interrupted, or whatever may be the reason, right? Due to any reason your data is not accessible from the existing EBS volumes. So if you have the snapshot, you will be able to recreate the volume, right? And here you can see the same. Again, you will have all the options, right? Simply create volume, close, and go to the EC2 and then volumes. So here you can see this is the new volume that got created, the same 50 GB, right? So the same 50 GB, you can see the time like it's 10 AM, right? So this is the new volume which got created. Yes, you can see it is coming up. So once this is available, again you can use it as a general volume. Again I can go back and attach to any EC2 instance whenever I want, right? So this is how you majorly go ahead and take the help of snapshots in order to go ahead and restore the backup, right? So if you want to restore from the older snapshots in the environment, right? So very easy. So take the snapshot for the environment, and whenever you need it, just go to the actions, create volume, and whatever the settings if you want to change, right? So you can basically go ahead and do all those modifications and then work with the environment, right? So whatever the changes you want to keep, like any additional you want to change the type of volume, anything, right? So for those settings you can basically go ahead and take the help of this environment in order to go ahead and do it, right? So that is the advantage which you can get with the environment, right? So here we can see the same. Once it is available, it will be able to go ahead and attach to the EC2 instance. Mali same options. ఇంతకు ముందు మనకి ఏవైతే ఆప్షన్స్ వచ్చాయో attach volume and creating the snapshot and everything is available from here also, right? So that is the advantage which we will be getting out of taking the snapshots. So snapshots through major advantage enti ante point of backup. So whenever there is something wrong with my existing volume that I have created, I'll have an alternative backup. Right? So alternative backup, I can say one of the biggest advantage. So whatever the snapshots that we are taking from here, right? So this is a manual snapshot that we are creating. So if I want to automate this part, so this is the, with the help of lifecycle manager, which I can do it, right? So just go to the lifecycle manager, same thing, but you will automate it, that's all, right? So just click on next step. Here you can see, right? So here what I want to target. So here you want to basically with the help of name which you want to target, right? So just keep given name here, name, and then here it will automatically fetch whatever the volumes that are available in the environment. So I want to take the backup of this, right? And here we can see the my lifecycle manager policy description, right? So here you can just give policy for weekly backup, right? And I will go with the default roles, and here you can see policy is enabled. Click on next. Okay, let's continue. Next. Right, so this is where you will give the schedule, right? So here you can basically schedule the timing, so how frequently you want to take the backup, right? So here you can see the frequency, basically daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever you want to, whenever you want to go ahead and take the backup. For example, I want to take a weekly backup, so just click on weekly, and here you can decide when you want to. So basically what I want to do is I want to take a backup on Friday, and here you can see e particular schedule అనేది సో మనం ఉన్న టైమ్ జోన్ కి అకార్డింగ్ గా వస్తుంది. సపోజ్ యు ఆర్ ఇన్ ఒహాయో రీజన్, రైట్? సో విచ్ ఇస్ in the part of America, so it would be coming with this particular time zone. So మీ టైమ్ జోన్ కి అకార్డింగ్ గా మీరు ఆ రీజన్ చూస్ చేసుకుంటే ప్రాపర్ టైమింగ్ వస్తుంది, and you can convert also if you are using the same. But if you want to go ahead and take the backup in the night time, like something like in the daytime of our Indian timings which you want to take, right? So the 9 UTC will be working, or else if you want to take the backup in their night timings, right? So accordingly you can just give the schedule, and here you can see count any snapshots maintain cheyali anukuntunnaru. So I want to keep 4 snapshots. So what is this meaning is, this particular schedule will create a weekly backup on every Friday 9 ki oka particular backup anedi create avutundi. So what is the volume that you have just selected in the previous option, and then finally you can see how many number of snapshots you want to keep it as a count, right? So which we generally call it as a retention ante meeku recent ga enni backups maintain avvali ani. So ippudu idi em chestundi ante, so let's consider tomorrow is Friday, right? So tomorrow it will take a backup at 9 UTC, right? At the same time it will try to do the same for the every Friday that is coming up, right? So but every single time it will maintain only 4 recent snapshots. దానికంటే ఉన్న old snapshots ని automatic గా అది delete చేస్తుంది. So that is the advantage which you will get out of using the life cycle policy. అదే మనం మాన్యువల్ గా snapshots హ్యాండిల్ చేసాం అనుకోండి, so you have to delete the older snapshots, కానీ ఇక్కడ మనం మాన్యువల్ గా వెళ్ళి delete చేయాల్సిన necessity లేదు. So whatever the retention count that you are maintaining, right, only those number of recent backups will be available, right? So if there are any older backups than that, the system would automatically go ahead and delete them, because it is not needed to maintain the snapshots from years together. right? So because why we are using, in case edana problem aithe, so you are using it as a restoration point, right? Whenever you are working in those kind of environment, the recent backups would be sufficient, right? So whatever the recent modifications, recent changes, at least 3-4 backups manam maintain cheste, so if there is something problem, you can go back to the older version and then recreate the volume, right? That is the advantage which you will be getting out of using the snapshots, right? So here, how is the functionality that would be working is, so very simple. Suppose nenu em pettanante Friday 9 UTC ki pettan, so what it will do is, it will take a backup on Friday, right? So alane 4 weeks backup తీసుకుంటుంది, right? సో ఎప్పుడైతే 5th snapshot క్రియేట్ అవుతుందో, అన్నిటికంటే ఫస్ట్ ఒక బ్యాకప్ క్రియేట్ అయి ఉంటుంది కదా, ఆ బ్యాకప్ ఆటోమేటిక్ గా డిలీట్ అవుతుంది, రైట్? So what I'm trying to tell here is, keep only the latest 4 backups that are there in the environment, right? So na particular environment lo unna latest 4 backups maatrame undali. So whatever the backups older than that should be deleted. So manam system ki cheppakapoyina life cycle policy through automatic ga adi handle chestundi. So deletion is also done automatically. So why it is needed is, in order to efficiently manage the cost, because we cannot afford basically to go ahead and keep the backups of 5 months, 6 months, all these things together, right? So అందుకని ఎఫిషియెంట్ గా హ్యాండిల్ చేయడానికి ఏంటి అంటే, మనం మాన్యువల్ స్నాప్షాట్స్ తీసుకుంటే ప్రాబ్లం ఏంటి అంటే, మీరే క్లియర్ చేయాలి ఎవ్రీ సింగిల్ టైం, రైట్? సో ఒక 5 బ్యాకప్స్ అయిన వెంటనే మీరే ఓల్డ్ స్నాప్షాట్స్ ఏమైనా ఉంటే అవన్నీ డిలీట్ చేయాలి. You have to do everything from your end, right? So ala kakunda, if you are taking help of a particular life cycle policy, right? So this will help us to maintain proper count of snapshots, right? So whatever the snapshots that we are having in the environment, right? So it will maintain a good number of count, and you can decide it from your end. And by properly selecting a particular schedule or a policy, so a particular policy select cheskoni, and when you want to take the backup, so it is not mandatory that you have to take ఓన్లీ 1 day. నేను జస్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ కి చెప్పాను. సో మీకు ఆల్టర్నేటివ్ డేస్ కావాలి, సో ఈ మీకు ఒక రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఉంది ఏంటి అంటే, ఈ పర్టికులర్ డిస్క్ లో డేటా ఈ వీక్ ఎక్కువ అప్డేట్స్ అవుతాయి. సో ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, రైట్? సో మీరు ఈ వీక్ ఏదో పర్టికులర్ యాక్టివిటీ ఏదో హ్యాండిల్ చేస్తున్నారు, ఈ వీక్ ఎక్కువ బ్యాకప్స్ మెయింటైన్ చేయాలి అంటే 1 or 2 days కి, సో యూ కెన్ డూ దట్. దట్స్ నాట్ ఎ ప్రాబ్లమ్. ఐఎమ్ నాట్ టెల్లింగ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు డూ ఓన్లీ దిస్ నెంబర్, కానీ ఈ కౌంట్ మాత్రం కేర్ఫుల్ గా హ్యాండిల్ చేయండి. సో ఇప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది మీకు, ఓన్లీ ఇప్పుడు ఎలా ఉంటది అంటే, బ్యాకప్స్ ఎర్లియర్ వీక్ ఫ్రైడే ఉండిద్ది, అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం మండే, వెనస్డే, ఫ్రైడే, ఈ 4 బ్యాకప్స్ ఉంటాయి, రైట్? సో కౌంట్ అనేది అదే. కౌంట్ అనే దానికి మీరు వీక్ కి ఎన్ని డేస్ తీసుకుంటున్నారు, వీక్ కి 10 times తీసుకుంటున్నారా, 11 times తీసుకుంటున్నారా, సో అదంతా రిలేషన్ ఏం లేదు. సో దానికి కావాల్సింది ఏంటి అంటే కౌంట్ అంతే. ఎన్ని రీసెంట్ బ్యాకప్స్ నేను నా దగ్గర మెయింటైన్ చేయాలి, అండ్ వాట్ ఐ హ్యావ్ టు డిలీట్, right? So that is what the only responsibility of life cycle policy. So this is one of the biggest advantage you can get. So manam manual through cheyaleda ante, the same thing you are doing, but here you are just scheduling the time ante, right? So here we are just telling the system the frequency of when it has to take the backup. So enta frequent ga backup తీసుకోవాలి అనేది మనమే system కి intimate చేస్తున్నాం, right? So okay, you take every Thursday, every Friday, or every Sunday, whenever like, right? So this can do it. But one thing you have to remember is, while taking the snapshots, so for the first time whenever you are taking a backup or a snapshot, always ensure that there are minimum number of application users accessing. లేకపోతే ఏమవుతుందంటే, సో సమ్ టైమ్స్ దెర్ క్యాన్ బి ఎ స్లోనెస్, బికాస్ 500 GB డేటా బ్యాకప్ ఇట్ హ్యాస్ టు టేక్, రైట్? సో ఇట్ క్యాన్ ఇంపాక్ట్ ద పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ఆఫ్ యువర్ వెబ్సైట్. సో రెగ్యులర్ గా ఇప్పుడు రికమెండ్ చేస్తామంటే, లోడ్ తక్కువ ఉన్నప్పుడు, అంటే మీ పర్టికులర్ అప్లికేషన్ కి మినిమం యూజర్స్ లాగిన్ అయి ఉంటారు కదా, అలాంటి ఒక షెడ్యూల్ డిసైడ్ చేసుకొని ఆ టైంలో ఎవ్రీడే బ్యాకప్స్ పెట్టుకోండి, సో దట్ ఇట్ కెన్ ఎఫిషియెంట్లీ హ్యాండిల్ అండ్ యువర్ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ఆల్సో విల్ నాట్ బి impacted. So whatever is your website or application that you're having, right? So that particular performance will not be impacted. At the same time, you will maintain the backups, so without your involvement, right? So that is the advantage you will get out of life cycle policy. So very, very, very important. So they will ask you whether we can automate the part of taking the snapshots. Yes, right? So definitely we can go ahead and take the snapshots of the environment based on our requirement. So the frequency is decided by you only, right? So no one else will be deciding. So depending on your requirement, so sometimes we might need to take like weekly 2 or 3 backups, సో అదేంటి అంటే సో దిస్ జస్ట్ కమ్స్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ద రిక్వైర్మెంట్ అంతే. సో సమ్ టైమ్స్ ఏదైనా ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ గా డేటా మోడిఫికేషన్స్ అవుతున్నాయి అనుకోండి, ఒక్కొక్కసారి వీకే 2 to 3 బ్యాకప్స్ తీసుకుంటాం. సో దట్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఎన్ ప్రాబ్లమ్. సో యాజ్ ఐ సెడ్, డిపెండింగ్ ఆన్ యువర్ నీడ్ యూ విల్ ట్రై టు కమ్ అప్ అండ్ టేక్ ఆర్ హ్యాండిల్ మోర్ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ స్నాప్షాట్స్. అప్పుడు మీకు కావాలి అనుకుంటే సో యూ క్యాన్ బేసికలీ గో హెడ్ అండ్ మోడిఫై ద లైఫ్ సైకిల్ పాలసీ. Right, so depending on your requirement you can modify. So mere first time life cycle policy create chesam kada, so whether I can modify or not, yes. So you can make the modifications to your life cycle policy whenever you need it, and you can also add additional schedules also. Making the dantlo inka additional policies కానీ ఇంకొక schedule create చేయాలి అనుకున్నా, so you can basically go ahead and take that with the help of this life cycle policy. So let me just show you that also. Here this is the schedule one, right? Here we can review the policy, and then here you can see add another schedule. Right, so whenever you are trying to finally update your environment, right, so it will ask you, so there is a flexibility to add another 2 schedules also, right? So inka 3 schedules actually, okay, totally 4 we have, so we can create another 3 schedules in this policy. Same policy lone meeku kavalanukunte inko 2 3 schedules create cheyochu, right? So in that way you can basically go and do that. For example, you have created 4 policies and you want to disable any of the policies. Here you can see the policy status, right? So where you can disable that particular policy, right? That is completely your requirement, but make sure, because dantlo ఉన్న schedules అన్ని pause అవుతాయి. మీరు in case 3 schedules create చేస్తే ఆ 3 schedules pause అయిపోతాయి. So మీ requirement ని బట్టి, so if you need it, then only go ahead and disable the policy status, right? So let me just go ahead and create. Right? So once you create, now go to this thing, actions, right? So here you can see modify lives. As I said, whatever the settings we have just seen, so modify. So make temporary ga koni days ee backup avsaram ledu, you want to hold the backup, right? Not enabled, and then next, and then save that particular policy. Or otherwise I want to make the modifications in what I have done is, earlier I did not exclude the root volume, so root volume backup kuda nenu teeskunnanu. So now I want to exclude the root volume. Yeah, you can do that. Anything, basically not only this, any change whatever you want to carry out in the schedule, right, you can go ahead and basically try to go ahead and do those modifications, right, whatever you need. And here you can see, right, you can specify the retention time, and based on the retention period it will try to go ahead and maintain this particular count of. And at the same time there are other options which are there, like fast snapshot restore. So this will be causing you the bill, but what is the advantage of using this fast snapshot restore is that so it will give very good performance, and quick creation of volumes can be done, so with the help of snapshots, right? So whenever we are trying to go ahead and restore the backups, alantappudu manaki snapshot restore anedi helpful avutundi. And another thing is cross region copy and cross account copy, so which I have shown you from the manual creation, right? So manual ga create chesetappudu manaki options unnai kada, so these options will also be used in the case of automation part also. Whenever you are trying to create the automation of the life cycle policies, right, so at that time also you can basically go ahead and use this option, cross region copy and cross account sharing, so which can be helpful for us to go ahead and cross your snapshots or copy your snapshots across multiple regions, and you can schedule, and then you can also use cross account sharing. Same options akkada manaki copy, modify permissions, 2 options unnai kada, the similar options will also be available in the automation part also. So if you want to enable this, you can also basically go ahead and enable these options also as per your requirement, right? And here so just take a look on the options. As I said, it is just considered as a backup, so whenever you want to take the backup of your environment for the volumes, EBS volumes that are created, we will handle it through snapshots, and snapshots are incremental in nature. And another thing is, you can basically go ahead, copy the snapshots from one region to another region, and also copy the snapshots from one particular account to another account. And always remember, snapshots are closely tied to the EBS type of storage volume. So there will be different ways to handle the backup for different storage services. right? So don't think ante nenu storage anagane snapshots అని చెప్పకూడదు. So that is what I was looking up for, right? So usually ఏమవుతుంది అంటే, సో జనరల్ గా స్టోరేజ్ బ్యాకప్ ఎలా తీసుకుంటారు అనగానే స్నాప్షాట్స్ అనేది డిఫాల్ట్ ఆన్సర్ వస్తుంది. కానీ అది కాదు, మనం ఫస్ట్ క్వశ్చన్ చేయాల్సింది, మనం క్రాస్ క్వశ్చన్ చేయాల్సింది ఏంటి అంటే, వాట్ ఈస్ ద కైండ్ ఆఫ్ స్టోరేజ్ దట్ యు ఆర్ యూజింగ్, బికాస్ depending on the type of storage, the type of backup you are handling, right? So that is different. So that's very important. EBS type of volume ki or a particular elastic block storage ki matram manam with the help of you are trying to go ahead and take the backup with the environment. So here, so we are trying to maintain multiple snapshots. That is the reason we are maintaining the count, right? So manam corrupt aina tarvata backup తీసుకోవట్లేదు. So remember one thing. So one important thing you have to remember is you are not taking the backup for the volume which is corrupted, right? So what you are trying to do is you are trying to take a backup of healthy volumes, healthy EBS volumes that you are having in the environment on a daily basis or a weekly basis. It's not like a single snapshot which is there. Always remember, we are not taking backup of corrupt aina tarvata backup తీసుకోవట్లేదు. Try to understand the difference, right? So we are not taking the backups for the volumes that are corrupted or that are having some issue with the data. So we are taking a backup on a regular basis. Suddenly if something goes wrong, we have the older points of contact, right? So that is why we are talking about retention గురించి మనం అందుకే కదా డిస్కస్ చేస్తుంది. So here we are maintaining or talking about retention because we are want to go ahead and have the 4 or 5 copies, like the recent 4 or 5 copies, right? Suppose if recent has gone some issue, you will try to take the older one, right? So you will pick up from older snapshots and then see the data difference and then work it accordingly, right? So Mari, in the problem ante, you should not restore from like a very older backup. So what will happen is data difference ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది. So even though it is healthy, just try to check for the recent backup. ఎప్పుడైనా recent backup ని restore చేయడానికి ట్రై చేయండి. అడ్వాంటేజ్ ఏంటి అంటే ఎక్కువ డేటా మోడిఫికేషన్స్ జరగదు. అదే మీరు సపోజ్ ఒక 1 month బ్యాక్ ది 2 months బ్యాక్ ది రీస్టోర్ చేశారనుకోండి, ఈ మీన్ వైల్ 1 month or 2 months లో మనకి డేటా మోడిఫికేషన్స్ చాలా జరుగుంటాయి, అవన్నీ లాస్ట్ అయిపోతాం. సో అందుకని ఏంటి అంటే జనరల్లీ we will try to go ahead and prefer picking up the backup from the recent one, right? So recent one కానీ recent last 2 లో కానీ రీస్టోర్ చేయడానికి ట్రై చేయాలి ఎప్పుడు. సో ఎప్పుడు ఓకే ఇది రీసెంట్ అయింది కదా, నేను ఒక 1 month బ్యాక్ రీస్టోర్ చేస్తాను అంటే చేయొచ్చు, సిస్టమ్ అలౌ చేస్తుంది, ఎవ్రీథింగ్ ఈస్ ఫైన్, బట్ ద డేటా చేంజెస్ విల్ బి హ్యూజ్. అగైన్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు డూ a lot of manual work in copying those data changes. So that is the problem. So always it's a best practice to restore the data from the recent backup that you have taken in the environment, right? So that would be a best practice whenever you are trying to restore, right? So always remember, అందుకే రిటెన్షన్ మెయింటైన్. ఎందుకు నేను లైఫ్ సైకిల్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ అంటున్నాను అంటే, సో మాన్యువల్ గా ఏంటి అంటే దెర్ ఇస్ అ ఛాన్స్ దట్ యూ మైట్ మిస్ టేకింగ్ ద బ్యాకప్. సపోజ్ యూ నో దట్ ఓకే ఎవ్రీ ఫ్రైడే తీసుకుంటామని మీకు తెలుసు. For example, due to some other activity or some other issue, you have forgotten to take the backup. What happened? Suddenly on Monday or Tuesday, something happened to your data. So what they will try to do? They will try to check, okay, we have an backup for Friday, right? We will restore from that. But you have forgotten to take the backup, right? And అక్కడ ప్రాపర్ గా ఏంటి అంటే ఒక రిటెన్షన్ కౌంట్ అనేది లేదు, రైట్? సో ర్యాండమ్ గా యు ఆర్ ట్రైంగ్ టు గో హెడ్ అండ్ బేసికలీ క్లియర్ ద ఓల్డర్ స్నాప్షాట్స్. So there is an always a chance that you might miss taking the backup and the backup can be like an gone out of your hands. Now you cannot go back and you have to fix that issue from the server level itself, right? So that is the problem. So అందుకని లైఫ్ సైకిల్ పాలసీ ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయడం వల్ల ఏంటి అంటే రిటెన్షన్ కౌంట్. సో అదే మనం మేజర్ గా మాట్లాడుకోవాల్సిన మేజర్ అడ్వాంటేజ్ ఏంటి అంటే రిటెన్షన్ కౌంట్. వీఆర్ నాట్ ట్రైంగ్ టు గో హెడ్ అండ్ టేక్ ఎ సింగిల్ బ్యాకప్ ఆర్ మెయింటైన్ only one recent backup, right? So you are trying to maintain at least recent 3 to 4 backups so that if something goes wrong with the latest one, you should be able to restore it from the earlier backups, right? So our recent 4 backups లో మీకు ఏ దాంట్లో కావాలో దాని నుంచి మనం రిట్రీవ్ చేసుకోగలుగుతాం. We can basically go ahead and restore. So that is the advantage you can get out of using the life cycle policies. So just let me try to Right? Here you can see protect the valuable data by enforcing a backup schedule. Retain backups as required by auditors or income tax. Retain backups is nothing but the retention period that you are trying to maintain, right? The recent copies, number of copies you are maintaining, right? So that is what we call as retaining the backups, right? It means maintaining an frequency of the backups, not just a single snapshot or a single point of backup. Right? And here you can see reduce the storage cost by deleting the outdated backups, right? ఎందుకంటే మనం అకౌంట్ ఎప్పుడైతే రీచ్ అవుతామో 4 కౌంట్ రీచ్ అయిన తర్వాత దానికంటే ప్రీవియస్ బ్యాకప్స్ ఏవైతే ఉంటాయో అవన్నీ ఆటోమేటిక్ గా సిస్టమ్ డిలీట్ చేస్తుంది. అదే మనం మాన్యువల్ స్నాప్ షాట్స్ అంటే మన రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీ. సో మనమే వెళ్ళి ఎవ్రీ సింగిల్ టైం ఏవి ఓల్డర్ స్నాప్ షాట్స్ డేట్స్ చూసుకొని మనమే డిలీట్ చేయాలి. అదే మనం ఆటోమేట్ చేసాం అనుకోండి, ద సిస్టమ్ విల్ టేక్ కేర్ ఆఫ్ థింగ్స్, రైట్? సో ఇక్కడ కాస్ట్ అనేది ప్రాపర్ గా మెయింటైన్ అవుతుంది. At the same time, unwanted snapshots అన్ని కూడా ఏం లేవు. So it will be easy for you to understand and handle the environment easily with the help of using the automation part. And here you can see the different things. So target resource tags, right? So here what I'm trying to do is I'm using name as a tag, right? So అందుకని ఆ పర్టికులర్ నేమ్ తో ఏవేవి ఉన్నాయో అందుకనే నేను నేమ్ అలొకేట్ చేస్తాను. నేమ్ వచ్చేసి సమ్ శాంపుల్ ఇన్స్టెన్స్ ఏదో ఒక నేమ్ పెట్టుకున్నారు అనుకోండి, మీరు ఆ పర్టికులర్ బ్యాకప్ ని ఆటోమేట్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఇట్ విల్ బి ఈజీ ఫర్ యూ టు గో హెడ్ అండ్ సెలెక్ట్ ద ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్. మల్టిపుల్ EC2 ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్ ఉన్నప్పుడు అలా ఉన్నప్పుడు మనం ఏంటంటే ప్రతి ఐడి తీసుకొని సర్చ్ చేయడం టఫ్ ఉంటుంది. అదే దానికి మీరు ఏదో ఒక నేమింగ్ కన్వెన్షన్ ఇచ్చారనుకోండి, ఈజీగా పర్టికులర్ ట్యాగ్ ని సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకొని అండ్ దెన్ యూ క్యాన్ బేసికలీ గో హెడ్ అండ్ సెలెక్ట్ యువర్ EC2 instance or your volume, whatever you are using, right? So that we can basically go ahead and use it. సో మల్టీ వాల్యూమ్ ఇవన్నీ ఎక్కువ కన్ఫ్యూజన్ అవ్వకండి. మల్టీ వాల్యూమ్ అంటే ఇన్స్టెంట్ స్నాప్ షాట్ అని, వాల్యూమ్ స్నాప్ షాట్ అంటే ఇండివిజువల్ వాల్యూమ్ స్నాప్ షాట్ అంతే. సో డోంట్ గెట్ కన్ఫ్యూజ్డ్ మచ్ విత్ దిస్. వాట్ ఈస్ దిస్ మల్టీ వాల్యూమ్? మల్టీ వాల్యూమ్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఇప్పుడు EC2 ఇన్స్టెన్స్ సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకున్నాం అనుకోండి, దాంట్లో ఒక 4 or 5 వాల్యూమ్స్ ఉండొచ్చు, రైట్? సో లైక్ రూట్ వాల్యూమ్, సమ్ అదర్ నిన్న మనం క్రియేట్ చేసుకున్నాం అప్లికేషన్ అనే పార్టీషన్ క్రియేట్ చేసుకున్నాం, డేటాబేస్ అని క్రియేట్ చేసుకున్నాం, 3 different volumes, right? So 3 different volume snapshot ni rather than calling it as an instance, so few of them will also call it as a multi-volume snapshot, right? So at a time you are trying to go ahead and take a snapshot for 3 different volumes, so that is how you will call it. So this is the one whatever the information that we have seen, and here from the console whatever we have discussed, right? So life cycle manager actions, if you want to modify any changes or something, right, you can go through this particular process. And deleting, you'll try to go ahead and have the delete snapshot life cycle policy option from where you can delete it, right? So very simple. So just the major advantage that you can get out of using the life cycle policy is retention. I can say retention and the proper storage space, right? So unnecessarily we don't need to go ahead and maintain bulk number of backups, right? So instead what we are trying to do is we are trying to maintain a proper count, and which will help also indirectly in managing both the things like the storage and as well as restoration part. Whenever you want to restore to the old backup in the environment, I can basically go ahead and handle it with the help of lifecycle policies, right? So that is the advantage which I can get if I'm trying to go ahead and implement any life cycle policy into my environment. Same thing. So మీరు snapshot through create చేసేటప్పుడు whatever the options you are selecting, right, the same options would be there whenever you are automating that, except the schedule, right? So here we are trying to make it automated by fixing a schedule and as well as maintaining the retention count, right? So these two are the major things which will be dealing with respect to the environment while handling the life cycle policies, right? So very important thing. So don't ignore this. So because this will be there in mandatory, so EBS volume ఉన్నప్పుడు కంపల్సరీగా snapshots గురించి డీల్ చేస్తాం. So you should know how to automate the part and also how to work with the snapshots in the environment, right? So which is highly mandatory to know, right? So కంపల్సరీగా EC2 లో కంపల్సరీగా యూజ్ చేసే సర్వీస్ snapshots అనేది, right? So don't ignore that. So at least like basic creation of volume and how to create a life cycle policy. So what are the different attributes that are involved in the creation of a life cycle policy, right? So that is what important. రైట్. సో వెరీ ఈజీ, జస్ట్ మీరు ఆల్రెడీ అన్ని మనం చూసిన పారామీటర్స్, కాకపోతే టర్మినాలజీ అనేది కొంచెం చేంజ్ అవుతుంది అంతే, రైట్. సో మీకు ఏఎంఐకి ఎలా అయితే ఆప్షన్స్ ఉన్నాయో అలానే డిఫరెంట్ రీజన్ కి కాపీ చేయొచ్చు. అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం యూ కెన్ ఆల్సో కాపీ డిఫరెంట్ అకౌంట్ ఆల్సో, right. So this is how you usually talk about high availability or backup, right. So I said for every service we'll be talking. So e particular type of storage space ki backup or snapshots anedi, sorry, backups we are maintaining through snapshots, and high availability we are assuring by copying it to the different region. So if you want to have any critical storage devices, right, so you can basically go ahead and copy to the different region, so which can assure you more high availability for your EBS volumes, right. And here we are trying to go ahead and take the help of life cycle policies in order to automate the part of backups, right. And another thing which you have to cover is security, right. So how the data is getting transferred, so which I was talking about encryption mechanism, right. So that's additional thing, so which we have to cover with respect to EBS volume. So how we can encrypt the data, so because whenever you're trying to go ahead and handle the data, it should be encrypted, so no one else uh, in the net, right, in the way that you're accessing, no one should be able to see your data, right. So by the time it gets processed from your local account to the remote server or somewhere, wherever you're trying to take the backup, right, so it should be copied safely, right. So elanti external data injections కానీ అలాంటివి ఏది జరగకూడదు, దానికి మనం ఏంటి అంటే encryption mechanism ని enable చేస్తాం, right. So that is the next thing which we have to cover, right. So tomorrow we would be talking about encryption on the ABS volumes and how we can securely transfer the files from one point to another point. So secure the files ela transfer cheyalo chuddam, right. So that's another critical task which we have to see with respect to storage space. Storage space or storage volumes tho inkoka important criteria enti ante, so how you have to handle the secure transfer of your data, right. So we have seen how to handle the backup and high availability. As I said, the next point, so cost management also we are handling with the help of life cycle policy. The another thing which we have to know is about the security, how to securely keep your data on this particular EBS volumes, right. So here for that you have to go through an service called encryption. So tomorrow I'll be discussing about that particular part, right. So meanwhile try to go ahead and take a look on existing things, how to create the volumes, how to handle the snapshots, and how to basically go ahead and work with the environment. And all these snapshots whatever they write, so they will be stored in the default section of snapshots only. So default the snapshot section on a store out there. So if you want to actually go ahead and copy to the remote region, remote storage services also, you can do that, right. So for that you need to know another storage service called S3. So once we are seeing that particular additional storage service, then I'll tell you. So if you want to maintain a different point of contact, so already ikkada snapshots lo aithe untundi, so meer ade inkoka particular different place lo me store cheyali anna, so there is a flexibility for that particular section as well, right. So that we would see. So whenever we are good with that particular additional storage service also, I'll tell you. For now you can remember, so you can maintain the high availability by copying it to different regions and also maintaining the proper count, right. So proper retention count, you can basically go ahead and maintain the backups for your environment. Okay then, thanks everyone.